might be. Yeah.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I think we're good then.
I think we're ready.
I
Do
mean,
you want
as
to
long as
just
they're ready.
do you want to just test the mics, or
Hi, Dad.
You all sound, I can hear,
are you able to hear all of us
yeah,
good?
I can hear all of you.
All right.
All right. Sick.
All right. I
I
think
have no
we're
idea
ready
what
to
you're
go.
saying.
Just give us a cue.
Okay, you can start now.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Justin. This is Ryan and Travis. We're the judges at Great Stories for Magic. And we're going to be talking about a few things, standard, some new sets coming up, and we're going to just tell you our opinions on a few things. All right. So let's start with standard. So the Zendikar Rising just came out. I personally started playing in original Zendikar. So this is kind of back on home turf for me. What are you guys' opinions on the set so far?
It's got a fun limited format. Playing it on Arena has been very enjoyable. Ryan?
Yeah. So I play more Eternal formats myself. I do feel like there's a bunch of cards that are good for the Eternal formats, such as Commander, Legacy, Modern. A lot of cards that are popping up that are very interesting and have a lot of unique mechanics that aren't just good in like the draft formats and stuff, but will impact the Eternal formats and of course Standard as well.
Yeah. So I've been having a ton of fun. I've been playing a personal favorite deck in the Standard format right now. It's using my favorite card, which is going to segue nicely into our next topic. It is sort of a meme deck. It's not the most competitive, but it's definitely not bad. It's Scoot Swarm Mutate. And I love Scoot Swarm. I love Scoot Mob. It's one of my favorite cards in Magic. Scoot Swarm kind of just takes that feeling and turns it up to 11. It's so awesome and I love it. And the deck is really interesting and fun. I know several YouTube channels have done deck techs on it. If you want to check it out, I would recommend just searching over there because they do a way better job of explaining it than I ever will be able to. So favorite card, what are you thinking?
Favorite card in the set for me, I'm thinking is going to be the new Omnath. So Omnath has had a very big journey in Magic the Gathering and the history of the game. It's very, very just historically good. Like every single Omnath they've printed is good in some way, shape, or form. Whether it be the first one that literally just lets you have as much mana as you want, basically, or like the one from BFZ that just deals damage to people, makes elementals.
Big
like
elementals.
it just does things. Like Omnath always does things, and this one I feel like is either the first or second strongest, depending on what you want to do with your deck.
He's terrorizing Standard right now.
Yeah, I was gonna
exactly.
say, I think it's probably made the most immediate entrance out of any of them.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that seeing as though we have Azusa in Standard right now, and we have cards. I mean, we did have Uro until
recently banned.
Lotus Cobra.
Lotus Cobra, just things that have landfall and can do multiple landfall triggers. Doing that on Omnath is just backbreaking for your opponent at every point in turn. And like I stated before, I'm more of the Eternal format player, so getting that in like a Commander game or something, or Canadian Highlander even, you get like 2 or 3 land drops, you know, you're so far ahead of the game, it's kind of ridiculous at that point.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Travis, what is your favorite?
So my first favorite is the card Ancient Green Warden, which lets you play extra lands from your graveyard and doubles landfall triggers, which works nicely with that on there.
That it does.
But it fits nicely into my pet commander deck, which deals heavily with landfall triggers. And then another card that came from the set in Turn Timber Symbiosis, which is one of the new flip cards. It's a spell on the front and then a land on the back, is a callback to one of my all-time favorite cards, Collected Company. And that also goes into that pet deck very well.
Now, that is a good segue, actually, because I do want the group's opinion on the new flip lands themselves, just the rare land types that can flip for one color on the front, one color on the back. I think that they're fantastic as a budget for things like dual lands that people might not actually have any money for the access to, such as original duels, shock lands even at this point, maybe fetch lands. You can't get some of them in some situations, but these are great alternatives to it. What are your guys' feelings on these new lands that came out?
I personally think they're great. I think, like you said, they're a great budget alternative. The restriction on only being able to choose one color is a little tough sometimes, because there's a lot of times in games that I've played where I really need that flexibility of having either color on a turn. But I think if you're playing on a budget and you're just getting into some older formats, like maybe you're looking to get into Modern, and you really don't have the money to buy Shocklands, this is a great substitute. I think it's fantastic. And typically, if you don't have the money to buy Shocklands, you probably don't have the money to get Fetchlands either to go with them, because those two kind of go hand in hand. So you can just, instead of running the Shocklands and the Fetchlands, you can just run more of these dual lands. And I think it's a really great alternative. I think it goes really well with the buddy lands from Battle for Zendikar. I think they're a great fit in with them, because you can use the buddy lands, you can use these guys. They're not typed, are they?
They're not typed.
Yeah.
That is I feel the biggest downfall of these lands is that they're not typed. They don't actually have a type like forest, mountain, swamp, plains, or island. So it is difficult to actually fetch for them. But speaking on that budget alternative, you're probably not fetching for them anyway, because you probably don't have fetches.
Right.
So on that budget alternative, I think that they're fantastic to at least get into a deck in the format that you want to play, whether it be standard, modern, legacy, commander. And they're just good all-around lands, I feel.
I pretty much agree across the board with you guys. The only gripe that I have is with the mythic ones, actually. I feel like the land should come in untapped without having to pay life, but...
Also, paying 3 life is pretty steep.
Yeah.
Especially with the precedent of, like, Shocklands. You get 2 colors, and it's only 2 life.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a really steep price for, admittedly, a really flexible spot, because you can have either the spell or the land, but 3 life seems a little bit excessive.
Yeah. To me, on those, that most of the time, if I'm playing that spell as a tapped land, I'm either in a really bad position where I kept the worst hand possible, or it's very late in the game and the spell is just useless.
Right.
And, I think that we're casting the spell most of the times on the mythic ones.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I agree.
So we'll talk about some upcoming sets.
Yeah, let's. So we got some new sets coming up soon. We actually just found out that the Commander draft set has been pushed out another month, so it's actually coming out. You said
November 20th.
November. Okay, so November 20th is when that one got moved to. I personally think this is a good move because of COVID. Wizards has notoriously been having a very hard time meeting demand for paper cards. I think I'd rather have the set be a month late but be able to get as much of it as I want, than have it be
Another jumpstart.
Yeah, another jumpstart situation where a lot of people are still waiting for their jumpstart boxes to come in.
Sure. Yeah. So, have there been any spoilers for Commander Legends?
There
at
have
all?
been a few.
Yep.
All of them have been partner commanders so far,
Okay.
and they've all been geared towards, again, the draft. Like there's one Prismatic Piper, which is specifically just a colorless,
Yes.
like 1/1.
I do remember seeing
that you get to choose a color. and
This
you
was a
go through
little
it.
while ago.
Yeah, this was a few months
that
ago
I saw
now.
that I do remember. So, my thoughts and what I'm thinking for this little segment is basically what is a card that you want to see in this set. Like, do you have anything specific for Commander that you would like to see in this deck, whether it be a reprint or something completely new?
So a few years back, they did partner commanders. They've done partner with since then, but they never really revisited just partner, which let you take any of the 2 legends that had partner, and they were both your commander. A lot of those cards were only available through, actually all of the cards were only available through commander decks. They were also all foiled, which is nice. But none of them have been reprinted since then, and some of them are particularly powerful, but also very hard to get your hands on now because of that lack of reprints. I know I play 2 of them as a commander deck, one of my personal favorites, Ravos and Rihan, and I built this deck back when these commander decks came out. And if I were to want to do that today, I would probably be paying well over what I would be willing to pay for these cards now. I'd love it if those cards got reprints in the set. It doesn't have to be like at a rare level. It could be at a mythic for all I care, but just a meaningful reprint is what I think those need.
Sure. Travis?
So some of the cards that I would have liked to see in the set were revealed in the I forget the name of it. It was the 5 or so card pack that was specific to the colors.
Oh, the like special boosters.
Yeah, so it was stuff
Kind of
like
set boosters, sort of.
sort
deal.
of. It was
Yeah,
it was stuff like Sylvan Library and Seedborn Muse.
Oh,
Just
yeah, no.
good green
they're like
cards.
promo
Oh,
packs or
on
something like that, right?
the cards in the list, you mean?
No, they weren't on the list.
No, those cards definitely
They were
are
a
not on the
specific
list.
product that was separate from Commander Legends that was supposed to release. I don't know if it was with
Oh,
it or.
yes, I do know what you're talking about. It was essentially spell book.
Yeah, it was.
Spellbook Commander
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
sort of thing, yeah.
With a focus on green.
And I think that they're doing a product of that for each
For each
color, but that's not tied towards this
No, it's like a
reprinted set.
it's
It's like a separate thing. It's sort of like how From the Vaults were, and how I guess this day's Secret Layers are.
Yeah.
Shall we move
So.
into Kaldheim?
Yeah, so
Well,
Oh.
what I did have a thought on, actually cards that I would like to see them print
yes,
go
we
ahead.
didn't
on this.
hear.
So now this seems like a little bit of a crazy idea for both these things, just because we haven't seen it in Magic really. You talked about partner commanders,
Yep.
right? What I want to see is War of the Spark varianted partner planeswalkers. We already have Rowan and Kenrith. We already have things like Jace and Vraska. Why not pair each card up with something that has loyalty abilities that go off of each planeswalker and have them as commander partners? That I think would be really cool. Do they have to be super ridiculously powerful? Absolutely not. But would it be cool to see 2 planeswalkers as a commander? Yeah. And
Yeah.
also in that same vein, you know what I really want for like the past 5 years is a way to destroy emblems. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is something that Commander doesn't do very well, because if you get an emblem in a Commander game, most of the time you're winning that game.
Yeah, and I do agree. Some emblems nowadays seem to really just
Win the game.
essentially say
Just
win
wins
the game.
So why would I not want a card that has some kind of cost for it? Maybe it's you lose some life. Maybe it's you lose some lands. Maybe it's you lose some creatures.
Yeah.
But it gets rid of the emblem.
And
I want that emblem gone.
You know what?
And
a commander set would be a good way to do that.
Exactly.
Because it only affects legacy
Commander.
and down from
yes, exactly. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, most formats, you're not going to get the emblem from your planeswalker. Commander, however, you're probably going to get the emblem from your planeswalkers if someone ignores it enough or works with you for it.
I had a notoriously powerful 5-color Super Friends list for Commander that specialized in just getting as many emblems as possible, and it was very, very good at it, and it was very easy to do, which
Yes.
is, in my opinion, kind of not okay.
Yeah,
I
it turns
basically
into an
won
issue.
the game every single time I got 2, maybe 3 emblems.
Well, my planeswalker deck never lost a game because of that,
Yeah.
ever. So
It
just-
really,
it's unfair at,
Yeah.
at a point. So
After a certain point, it does get to be a little unfair. But
yeah, I think that's kind of what I want to see is
Yeah.
something that can destroy emblems and partnered planeswalkers, because I think planeswalkers are kind of WOTC's MO now.
Yeah.
You know, it's their poster thing.
Mm.
But let's move on to the next set here.
all right, so Call Time. Call Time is the set slated for after Commander Legends launches. It's mostly based around Viking and Norse mythology, if I remember correctly. So I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe get a creature type that is specifically related to that. I personally would love for them to make snow a mechanic in that
Sure.
set. Norse mythology and iconography is very much wintry landscapes and Vikings kind of trudging through the snow. I could very easily see them working in some very, maybe not quite Modern Horizons level of snow power to it, but have snow be
Sure.
a theme in that set. I think it would be really flavorful. I think it would be really interesting. And then it also gives more support to, in my opinion, a very under-supported archetype, which is snow permanence.
Yeah.
Sure.
So just a couple of things that we do know about the set. Like Justin said, it's going to be first quarter 2021, which is usually right around January 17th. The remaining, I think it's 4 rare double face lands are going to be in the set, as well as having that same style of flip card, but specific for the set. It won't necessarily be a spell into a land. It could be something like a spell into an enchantment, something like that.
Okay,
Sure.
that's interesting.
Sure.
Something we could see is a returning character in Garrick, who is basically based around this exact plane.
Sure, exactly. And Garrick, as if anybody who follows lore that's watching knows, Garrick back in pretty much Throne of Eldraine came back pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's now back in complete control. No more Chain Veil, no more Liliana controlling him. None of that. He's all good to go, ready to chop some heads.
Now,
So
now, one thing I wouldn't be surprised of if we're going in a lore direction here is Garrick, at the end of Throne of Eldraine, had pretty much promised Will and Rowan's parents that he was going to keep them safe. So if we do go to Kaldheim and Garrick is there, there's a really good chance in my mind that we might see Will and Rowan, even if it's just in flavor text or in the
Sure.
artwork of cards. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there to protect them from something.
sure.
Interesting.
And I want to kind of put an edge into this where, going back to War of the Spark, where nobody knows who the Wanderer is still. No one knows who the
that's
Wanderer
true.
is. Where's the Wanderer from? What does the Wanderer even want? The Wanderer could play a big part in Kaldheim, just in general. Whether the Wanderer is from the plane itself, whether they're there to hunt down our other 2 planeswalkers here, Rowan and Will, or just maybe they're on Bolas's side, and after the War of the Spark, they're trying to get other things. We really don't know anything about this planeswalker at all.
Yeah.
I mean, another thought is do we get god cards in this set?
Now that
Like,
that could be an
Do we get
interesting-
more gods that are like from the Greek god stuff? I don't know that we will, just because of how the Ikoria stuff was laid out, like the fonts of Mythoses, like the Mythos cards. Those seem very Greek gaudy to me. I don't know if they want to push for more gods just because of how they've been done before, but it seemed like they fixed that in Theros a little bit, so maybe they'll go for it.
And we might not necessarily get god cards, but what we might get are cards that are nods to the Greek gods.
You know what? I would very much like to see, if they're doing those Moto flip cards again, I would like for them to have a lower powered creature on the front that is a demigod type thing, and then on the flip side a very much more powerful actual god that costs more,
Kind of like the
or sacrifice.
Origins Planeswalkers.
Yes, Yes, exactly like that. Obviously, flipping into a creature instead, choosing the side, whichever. It feels good for a lore perspective of it. It doesn't just shove a god right into everything.
Right. Yeah.
It gives like a little bit of a. You gotta either wait for it,
Maybe
or you can
meet
get
a
this effect.
condition.
Yeah,
Just
of course.
outright cast it for more.
That would be cool.
Anything could be interesting there.
Of course.
So do you want to talk about the next one that we got coming up after Kaldheim?
So, kind of talking about another planeswalker from War of the Spark that we didn't get a lot of info on is Kasmina, who people are thinking this is her home plane, which is Strixhaven, called the School of Mages. We don't have much of anything for this set. We know it's Q2 of 2021, which is usually that April-ish slot. Yeah, we don't really have much on it, so it's just basically speculation. I believe they also said that the modal double-face cards are going to show up in that set in their own style. Probably
Okay.
going to be instant sorcery would be my guess.
Sure.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, just my quick thoughts on this set. I feel like they're going to lean a little bit towards that, like, sort of like a Harry Potter type theme, but not 100%. Like, they'll lean into it, like with the Strixes, Wizards, Mages, and stuff like that. But if you really think about it, that's kind of Dominaria anyway,
Yeah.
in a way, with the Tolarian Academy. That's kind of just what they are. So, like, I think that they might delve a little bit deeper into sort of mad mages and like the ones who are a little bit crazier, like having the Strix go
Sort
off and do some crazy enchantment necromancer stuff.
I could very easily see them doing something very predictable of doing more wizards and sorcerers matter. Also probably a spells matter type of archetype to show up in the set. I could also see something along the lines of almost like kind of a nod to Harry Potter-ish, different houses of magic, and maybe it's sort of the wedges, like 3-color wedges, and each of them kind of specializes in their own different sorcery and interesting stuff like that. And it could be interesting. It might help the admittedly very underwhelming party mechanic from the Zendikar Rising. It might help that out a little bit by
in
giving
standard,
them
yeah.
some interesting wizards and stuff like that.
What do you guys think the over-under is on a new Teferi in the set?
I think it's probably likely. I wouldn't be surprised, but
I think of all things, we might get a new Karn, but I also have a thought that if they do go the route that I was saying, the more necromancy things, I think they might be trying to summon some Eldrazi.
That could happen, and if they go that route, it could be more of a Liliana set too.
That, or we haven't seen some Phyrexians in a while, and
No,
you
but
know,
I think they're
do.
saving that and Karn because
Yeah, of
all
course,
the stuff that happened
exactly.
on Dominaria.
Exactly. You know, we will just have to see, but I do know that they will at some point bring back the Eldrazi and the Phyrexians. There's unfinished business and lore with both of those. That's kind of it.
We'll be getting to the Eldrazi section a little bit later,
Yeah.
a few minutes. And sorry for if we're saying a lot of stuff that you probably don't quite understand. We've been playing for a long time, and it's just various story points from throughout the years that we're kind of hitting now. On Dominaria, Karn was looking for a specific item to go deal with the Phyrexians, which is from a long time ago.
Yeah, and we can delve into that into another episode.
Yeah,
I think that we only have
it's more
like
of a
2 minutes left
conversation
here,
for
so-
another day, and we'll see if we can get to that
Yeah.
on another day. But
How's the set list? Are we
We
done
got-
here?
we
With
got-
we got
what
2 more.
Two
Well,
more.
Two more
Let's-
main sets, and
yeah.
then there's supplementary ones.
Let's
but-
rifle through that real quick, just talking about it because I was getting the 2-minute
All
warning
right, why don't we
from
talk about
the booth.
the Dungeons and Dragons set?
Sure. So,
So what mechanic do you think might come back?
so I think because these are going to be black bordered cards.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that they're honestly just going to print the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons and just call it good. Like they're just going to be like, this is black border
So
now.
they have talked about doing that. They do not want to move silver border to black border.
That's fair, but that doesn't rule out the fact that they might end up just doing something exactly like it.
That's
you
true.
know, like
Maybe not one for one, but
Yeah, like something very close to it, or we might see the party mechanic return just on the Dungeons and Dragons cards. But I think it's a very good way for the local game store itself to actually sell more things to Dungeons and Dragons players
Yeah.
and stuff, and get them into the game a little bit.
And it might bring Dungeons and Dragons players who used to play Magic back into
Of course,
Magic.
exactly. And they've already been trying to edge that in with the Dungeons and Dragons set.
Yeah.
That came out, the book about Ravnica, and there
True.
is a lot of
Pharaohs.
cross play with both these things,
Yeah.
both the.
So you actually mentioned something really quick. They might bring back the party mechanic. I personally hope they do, but I hope they tweak it a little bit.
Sure.
I hope they add in the other various classes that you
Right.
can play as
I feel
instead
like they'll-
of just the 4 that.
If they do, they'll have to call it something else, obviously. I would think, because
Well,
otherwise
it
they're
was
taking
only
all the
reminder
party.
text.
Yeah, it'll have to take all the party mechanics from Zendikar and change all that.
Right. It has
Yeah.
to
Because if it's
fundamentally
party,
change it.
yeah, it's like Target, like how they changed this Target stuff a few
Yeah.
years back.
Alright,
They had to
so-
change everything.
So let's keep moving right along.
Sure.
So that's going to be kind of also, it's worth noting, that's going to be a replacement for the core set for the year.
Yeah, so that'll be like the June set.
Yeah, the summer.
So moving into the fall now, we have 2 sets. We have what is
What
it?
about in between them?
Oh, we'll do that after. We have Innistrad werewolves and Innistrad not zombies, vampires.
Yes.
Now, these sets are going to be released side by side, from what I understand. Is that correct?
One will be in that like October range, and the other will be in like November.
It'll act sort of like back in the old days with the Mirian set and the Phyrexian, and that was only the pre-release version for that set.
Yeah, so-
but they were
They are
split.
2 distinct sets,
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
Yes. This is it. Just acts
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
like that.
So those will be coming out roughly around the same time. Obviously, as the name suggests, it's going to be vampires and werewolves.
Soren
and,
Markov one time. No more stone for me.
And so we'll hopefully see a lot more support for those 2 tribes. Specifically, werewolves is a pretty neglected tribe overall.
Yeah, they
Um,
definitely need some stronger cards. Vampires, I think they got some
Vampires
strong things.
do
They just
pretty
got
good.
they
Yeah.
just got a lot of lore things, I think, to hedge out in new cards.
Yeah.
Now, something lore-wise that we still have unresolved on
Yes.
Innistrad 2 would be the Eldrazi, because Emrakul is still stuck in the
In
moon.
the moon, and I feel like if we have a werewolf set, we might see some tentacle werewolves.
Well, the Innistrad moon is basically a pure ball of mana,
Yep.
which Eldrazi eat.
And the beautiful thing is that Tamiao is the one who put her in there.
Not on purpose.
Not on
but-
purpose, but Tamiao
Alright.
did put her in there.
So we are running a little short on time. So let's talk about the last thing,
Well, those 2.
or the last 2 things.
So
Yeah.
we have Time Spiral Remastered,
Mhm.
which is right in between Kaldheim and Strixhaven.
Mhm.
We, again, don't know much about that. It is essentially, from what I've heard, going to be a mix of original Time Spiral, Planar Chaos, and what was the third set? In that block.
Yeah. It's funny because they skipped a couple for that one. Cold Snap?
No.
No, that's
But-
the.
But anyway,
Ice
so
Age thing.
one of the things that we do know is that there is going to be a slot in each booster pack that has an old border card.
Yes.
They showed us that with Chalice of the Void.
Yes, exactly, and that's very exciting. I do like the old
Yeah,
border
that's
cards.
something that people have been wanting for a very long time.
very long time, and they did pull that with the list a little bit, and the list we can talk about on a later episode.
Right.
But that's something that they did.
All right.
pull
And then
back.
the
then-
other one, which
Yep.
comes out between the Dungeons and Dragons set and the Innistrad sets, is Modern Horizons 2, which what we know about that right now is that the 5 enemy color fetch lands, the ones that were printed in original Zendikar, will be reprinted at Rare, which is big because it's a print to demand set.
Yes, and it's going to be wonderful.
And notoriously, Modern Horizons 1 added a lot of power to a lot of different formats. It actually,
Yes.
in my opinion, reinvigorated the Modern format and took it from a very stale state and really added a lot of life to it. You got a
Yes.
lot of new decks out of that one
And it
set
didn't
release.
just do that for Modern, it did it for Legacy as well.
Right.
Legacy got a lot of stuff like Ren and 6 for lands. Giver of Runes for
Ice Fang Quotal.
Yeah, Ice Fang Quotal.
Snow
Snow
notoriously
stuff.
got a
Oh.
lot of love from that set.
It got a lot, but I
Um,
believe
I think
with
that's about
that,
time.
That's kind of it.
So that's going to be it for us for this week. If you have any questions for us, you can leave them in the comments. We'll try our best to get to them. We really hope we hit a lot of the big points that's been coming out. We specifically avoided some subjects, and that's on purpose. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you found it informative. I've been Justin.
Right.
Travis.
All right, and we've been the judges at Great Stories. Thank you.